And welcome in to a Thursday morning edition of the Treasure Valley Prepcast here on IdahoSports.com. You can watch this, and maybe you are watching this on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, or X account. You can also listen to this Prepcast wherever you download and subscribe to podcasts, as well as at IdahoSports.com. We have all of our Prepcasts on the left side of the home screen. Let's bring in our Treasure Valley resident and expert, the one, the only, Logan Green. What's up, LG?
Hey, Brandon. Man, yeah, doing good over here. Just it's been a busy week for you. It's been a busy week for me. It's probably been a busy week for everybody else out there. Just trying to get back in the groove of everything with sports starting this weekend. So it's busy but fun.
Yeah, hit the ground running this morning for sure, because I had to make sure our debut episode of Gem State Game Day got loaded up onto the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and X accounts. Logan, this is something new we're doing this year. Every Thursday morning, 8 o'clock Mountain Time, we will bring you a new episode of Gem State Game Day. It's going to be typically an hour long. This one went a little longer than that because we were doing a big season preview for all of the teams, but generally it's going to be an hour. We're going to break down the biggest headlines, preview the best matchups on the high school football schedule, and we're going to try to bring you one player interview and one coach interview on each show as well. So our week one episode of Gem State Game Day is on our IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and X account. You can go watch it there as soon as we are wrapped up here. And Logan, on our first edition of Gem State Game Day, we had on Meridian High senior quarterback Zeke Martinez.
Yeah, just a great athlete there. Great program that Meridian has had the last couple of years. Just kind of been right there in the upper echelon of the what is now 6A SIC. So you'll definitely want to check that out. If you're listening to this before you listen to that, go make sure to check that out. It's long, but there's a lot of really good stuff. And if you want to be the smartest person at the water cooler and sound the smartest and, know stuff about not just here, but stuff that's going around the state, just be sure. If you're at work, you just put in the earbud and listen to it. Like, it won't hurt you. It won't hurt.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We go 6A all the way down to 1A. We even had some rapid fire questions at the end of the show. And then we made our game picks also. So a lot of good stuff football wise, which means, Logan, really on this show today, I don't feel like we need to dissect too much football. I think we could just shine the spotlight on volleyball, soccer, some of the other fall sports that are taking place. Sound good?
Yeah, we haven't gotten into them a lot. And there's a lot of changes this year that there's just going to be changes all the time. This is going to be a thing like every year that we're going to have to look at and talk about and discuss. But I think some of the changes are really interesting. I think they're good. I think, they have good intentions, but then maybe they leave something else on the back end that we don't think about. And so we can get into that because there's a lot of good stuff still here to discuss.
Yeah, so let's start with soccer, and particularly on the boys side. We're going to go conference by conference, let you know what the changes are, because almost every league looks different, has some new teams that weren't in it last year, and by far the largest conference you're going to see anywhere in Idaho this year is in boys soccer at the 6A level, the Southern Idaho Conference. So who left, who came up? Middleton and Nampa both dropped down to Class 5A, so they are gone. But taking their place are three newcomers in Ridgeview, which is officially a 6A school now and had to move up in all sports. They petitioned down in football successfully, but also choosing to play up a level, Logan. This was totally their choice. They chose to play up at the highest level. Both Bishop Kelly and Caldwell moving on up to that 6A SIC. This league is going to be nuts. You have traditional powers like Rocky Mountain and Owyhee and Timberline. Eagle has been in the mix. And then you add in the two preeminent 5A soccer programs, not just in the SIC, but the entire state Bishop Kelly and Caldwell. This thing's going to be nuts.
Yeah, last year at the what is now 6A soccer tournament, the semifinals was 4 SIC schools: Rocky Mountain, Eagle, Boise, Timberline. Timberline and Rocky Mountain met for the championship. which they didn't even come into the tournament as the 1 or 2 seed. Timberline won it as a 3 seed. Rocky Mountain made it to the finals as a 4. So it just shows you how deep that conference is, where you get into the state tournament and the 3 or 4 can go meet in the state championship. And they're just adding really good teams to that. Like we've been, Caldwell and Bishop Kelly have really been the class of what was 4A soccer for years, what is now 5A soccer. Last year, Wood River got it done over Sandpoint in the championship. But, years and years before that, it was those two that were, it was one or the other that was winning it. And a lot of years, it was both of them playing each other in the state championship. And I think it's really fun. Like, we know that historically over the last decade or so, Caldwell just has not had the programs in other sports that have been right there. So it's really fun to see that their soccer team, and they are that good. They deserve every bit of accolade that they get. They deserve the quote Premier League promotion or whatever you want to call it up. The European soccer. That's not what this is, but if it was, they would have earned that spot up. And it's going to be fun to see them compete against those teams because I think they can. They have not lost a lot of games over the last couple of years. When you look at records, I add up the losses. They can't be more than a dozen over the last 10 years. They just are always right there. So I'm excited to see Caldwell right in the mix this year.
Yeah, this year, in terms of representation at state, Logan, there are no play-in matches at the 6A level, boys or girls. The North gets one team, and that makes sense because there's only 2 teams left, Coeur d'Alene and Lake City. Post Falls dropped down. Lewiston dropped down. East Idaho gets 2 bids out of a 5-team conference now because Canyon Ridge moved up. And they'll join Highland, Rigby, Madison, and Thunder Ridge. And then you get 5 teams from District 3. Well, you just rattled off 4 semifinal teams from last year: Rocky, Timberline, Eagle, and Boise. Plus you add in BK and Caldwell. I mean, we're already looking at 6 teams right there. Somebody really good is going to be left home.
I know. I mean, right off the bat, like, Brandon, if you look at teams at a winning record last year, teams with more than 10, okay, let's play this game, right? We're Treasure Valley folks on this show, okay? So last year, Thunder Ridge, obviously, they won the East Idaho League, and they were the number 1 seed, and then they lost in the first round to Eagle, and they actually went 2-0. So anyways, so if you look last year in that league, Thunder Ridge had 13 wins, Highland had 9, Madison 8, Rigby 7. Here, Timberline had 18, Rocky Mountain 15, Boise with 16, Centennial with 13. We haven't even talked about Centennial yet. They had 13 wins. Eagle had 12. Bora had 10. So there's 6 teams with over 10 wins, and East Idaho had 1. And then you're going to add 2 more teams. So we've got the state tournament could legitimately be the 6A SIC tournament. District tournament, right? I don't know. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. This is the Treasure Valley show, so we might as well vouch for our Treasure Valley team. I think there's going to be a team that could win the state championship that's going to be left out this year.
Yeah, and I guess the nice thing for just so everybody knows, I live in North Idaho. I don't have a North Idaho bias or anything. I cover the whole state, but in years past, when there's been a 2-team league up north, especially at the smaller levels, a lot of times it's been a half bid. And it's like, yeah, you're the district champ, but you have to play a play-in game. Because Lake City and Coeur d'Alene are both such great soccer programs, I think the 6A coaches recognized that and said, you guys will get a full bid. We're not going to make you play a play-in match. So, but that does squeeze out maybe a team from the Treasure Valley. It's going to be fascinating to see how this league shakes out this year.
No, it'll be a loaded tournament. I think that 6A SIC district tournament is going to have a lot more pressure than usual, right? And we talk about how that affects things, right? If you have a great regular season but you don't show up at your district tournament, that's kind of you can't have that this year.
Right. Okay. Well, let's look at the girls' soccer landscape for the 6A SIC. Just slightly smaller. Instead of 14 schools, there are 13. Same changes. Middleton and Nampa went down. Ridgeview went up. Bishop Kelly volunteered to go up. The one difference is Caldwell decided to stay down in girls soccer. So you will literally have the Caldwell boys and girls soccer teams competing, not just in different leagues, but in different classifications. But it's the same representation. 5 teams will get to go to state from this 13 team SIC. And it's kind of a similar story, right? Rocky Mountain has been a premier program. Boise, of course, is kind of the gold standard in 6A girls soccer. Hawaii has been getting better. And then you add in this Bishop Kelly program that's been pretty feisty at the 5A level and a really good program. So, it'll be interesting to see where BK slots into the mix.
Yeah, because I'm just trying to think back, like what last year Hawaii came into the tournament as a 3 seed, I believe. Yeah, a 3 seed. And they went to the state championship and won the whole thing on penalty kicks. So it's like you just continue to add good teams into this league. I know Hawaii, was just a new school, and they just seem to be improving in every sport. And they win the state championship last year. So both state championships for boys and girls soccer at the 6A level came from teams that were not number 1 on the bracket. They weren't even number 2. They were kind of, quote, buried there in the SIC, but going through a tough schedule all season long, it really prepares you. And it's really just a roll of the dice, right, to see what's going to happen at a state tournament. So I think boys and girls side is going to be I think it's going to be the SICs to lose going forward. I mean, Boise has just been dominant for years and years, right? And Hawaii finally steps over that. But now adding Bishop Kelly into the mix, it's just that's going to be extremely fun to watch this upcoming year.
Yeah. So let's shift then to the 5A.
And Bishop, and Bishop Kelly, when they play these when they're non-conference games, it's not like they're playing these teams and they're competing. So it's not like this is going to be all shock and awe to them. It's just going to be kind of just getting right back on that conveyor belt, whatever, to get back into it. So, yeah, back over to 5A, I guess, right, Brandon? Is that what you were
yes
saying before I cut you off?
No, that's all right. I like the conveyor belt analogy. That was good. Yeah, okay, 5A SIC now. Let's go boys soccer first. This is a league of opportunity, I feel like, because, again, going over the changes, Ridgeview, Bishop Kelly, Caldwell all moved up. Emmett actually moved down. We'll talk about that in a second. But you also got Middleton and Nampa. So Middleton and Nampa dropped down from the 6A level, and they join this little trio of teams that stayed and didn't move at all: Columbia, Skyview, and Valley View. Now that the two big gorillas, Bishop Kelly
are gone
and Caldwell are gone, this is a league of opportunity. Will we see Nampa or Middleton win this league moving down in their first year, or will it be a Columbia or a Valley View, which has kind of been knocking on the door lately? I don't know. This is going to be a tough one to peg.
Yeah, Valley View a year ago was 11-5-3, so they were right there. They went 7-3 in conference play, so they did have a very good season. Valley View was able to, they lost to Bishop Kelly, they lost to Caldwell, and they did have one other loss to Skyview scattered in there, but that was it for Valley View during the season. Their losses came to BK and Caldwell. So I think this is, like you said, an opportunity now for Valley View to say, gosh, those behemoths aren't here anymore. Now I can step into this role. And like you said, with the other two, Skyview and Columbia had sub 500 records. Now they have a chance maybe to be a little bit better. Middleton has struggled up at the 6A level. They're going to come back down. Maybe this gives them a step forward that they've been looking for. So, interesting to see. I think the edge goes to Valley View right off the bat, just based on last year. And again, that's all we're doing right this year is saying, well, based on last year, Valley View did beat Middleton last year 3-1. If you're looking for how do these teams compare? But you look at last year, what Valley View did too. They tied Eagle in a game. They tied Bishop Kelly. They were right there. They were able to have some great victories over teams, and losses came to the top teams. So look out for Valley View in soccer this year on the boys' side.
Yeah, and then if we look at the girls' side, it's those same 5 teams we just discussed: Middleton, Nampa, Columbia, Skyview, and Valley View, joined by Caldwell, which opted to not move up like their boys' counterparts. So it's a nice 6-team league on the girls' side. Still similarly difficult to peg. I do feel like it might be Valley View and Caldwell and Columbia and Middleton maybe out in front somewhere, but
Yeah. I mean, Valley View again in girls 14-7 last year, 10-2 in conference. Middleton had historically been a pretty good team on the girls' side in making state at the 4A level. So what will be 5A now? They were consistently making the state tournament. At least maybe making the play-in game to get to the state tournament. But they were always in the picture, and so I look to see them kind of get back into that role. Maybe that was their sweet spot, right, where they should be. Because moving up and playing with those other teams, they just weren't there. And I mean, those teams were amazing, at the 6A girls level. So we'll see. Maybe that's a little bit better for them and what they have to offer.
Yep. This year, the 5A SIC, Logan, gets 1.5 bids to state. So the district champ goes. Whoever takes second will have to play the second place finisher from the north. And you might be thinking, well, geez, isn't that just a 3-team league with Sandpoint, Moscow, and Lakeland? Well, Lewiston dropped down in all sports to 5A, and then Post Falls, because their soccer programs had been struggling so much, they petitioned down and were granted it. So it's actually a nice 5-team league. I think that's going to be a tricky spot, only because that 5A Inland Empire League has been pretty tough the past couple of years. Logan, it was like 3 years ago, Sandpoint was undefeated, lost to Moscow, who had only lost twice in the district championship game. And so Moscow got to go to state, Sandpoint didn't. Now there's kind of a built-in backdoor way for one of those two programs to make it if they stumble. So that's a dangerous spot for whoever takes second out of the SIC.
It is, because I mean, those two teams you mentioned, Sandpoint and Lewiston, both won the regular season in the conference last year. So now you throw in 2 teams that were finished in first place in the standings, where one's going to go right, and then you're going to have to battle the other one for a spot. It's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting, right? There's only 3 bids from the Treasure Valley and North Idaho, so the other 5 are going to come from Magic Valley and East Idaho.
Yep. It is an interesting breakdown of the bids for sure. Okay, let's go to the 4A ranks. It's going to be a little different because some schools only play boys soccer. Some schools like Homedale only play girls soccer. The big storyline here, though, is in the 4A Snake River Valley Conference, Emmett has moved down in both boys and girls soccer. So like on the boys side, the league is going to be Ambrose, Fruitland, McCall-Donnelly, Parma, Payette, Weiser, and Emmett. There's going to be 7 teams there. Emmett's the lone newcomer. And then on the girls' side of things, also a 7-team league, but you're swapping out Ambrose for Homedale, essentially. So it's Fruitland, Homedale, McCall-Donnelly, Parma, Payette, Weiser, and then Emmett joining the fray as well. I think overall, the makeup doesn't change that much. I'm not sure how competitive Emmett will be coming in, only because like Homedale girls, Fruitland girls, we know McCall-Donnelly boys and girls. There's just a lot of good soccer programs in this league this year. On the boys side and the girls side, this district gets 2 bids to state. It's going to be pretty cutthroat.
Yeah, it is, and they have to deal with the cutthroats, right, from Sun Valley. They're part of that. But there's just a lot of really good programs in 4A soccer outside of the league. I know Fruitland was top of the class a couple years ago, wins a state championship. At least we're talking on the girls' side right now, and they're looking to get back to that. They don't want to be where they were last year. I believe last year at the state tournament, Fruitland was the 6, Homedale was the 7. They both lost that opening round game, so they played each other in a knockout game there in the consolation bracket. I think they want to get away from that. And I think I think we're going to see improvements from Fruitland this year, and so look out for them this season on the girls' side. I think we'll see a step forward there.
Yeah, so that's what's going on the soccer landscape. A lot of changes at the top, and then as we get further down, fewer and fewer changes. Let's shift to volleyball, Logan. Let's outline the changes that occurred across the volleyball landscape. Again, we'll just start at the very top, the 6A Southern Idaho Conference. This is a 13-team league. It was a 13-team league last year. Basically, Middleton and Nampa dropped down. Ridgeview moved up because they are now a 6A school, and Skyview elected to move up a classification level. Logan, they didn't have to do this, but Skyview is such a preeminent, dominant volleyball program that they said, yeah, we'll take the challenge on. We'll go back to 6A. And so you've got Skyview entering the fray. Do the Hawks win the 6A SIC in their very first season back at the 6A level?
Brandon, if I'm if it's up to me, or if I just shot in the dark here, I'd say yes. Based on what we saw last year, they didn't lose to an Idaho team all year long. They lost 3 games all season, and they were at the beginning of the year to premier Utah teams. This is a team that has been on ESPN. Like, you want to go there? Well, let's go there. That has been selected to play a game on ESPN. Like, this is a different team than that team. Yes, I get it, but like, the program is the program, right? And that's the underlying foundation, right? The team might change year in and year out, but the foundation of the program doesn't, and it's still Skyview volleyball. And I don't think anybody can doubt that right now from what we've seen. Look out for them. I think it's a great decision to go forward. We were kind of talking off air. If you play a video game on, if there's 5 settings, right? If there's easy to hard and stuff in between, and you're playing on level 3 and you continue to win on level 3, it might be it's a little more fun and challenging to go up and play on level 4 or 5. And I think that's what we're seeing here for Skyview. They've taken care of level 4. They're going to move up to level 5 and see if they can handle that. And I think they're ready for it. I think that it'll be fun to see them in that position. It's not, I mean, they were a 6A team a couple years ago, right before moving down. So they've been in that position. It'll be fun to see them back there.
Eagle is the reigning 6A SIC champ. They will be very good again this year, and Owyhee is also going to be a team that's right in the mix. This is a league that gets 4.5 bids to state. Whoever gets that half bid will get to play the second place team from the north. That's a 3-team league now with Coeur d'Alene, Lake City, Post Falls. I feel pretty good about saying probably 5 Treasure Valley teams are going to end up advancing to state. So
yeah, I mean, like, Eagle was 21-3, Owyhee was 17-7, Timberline 13-6, Rocky 12-8. These teams had great seasons, right? And so I know that, maybe I was, why Skyview? They need to prove themselves. Yeah, and I can see that argument because they do have really good opponents in the league, and so we'll just have to see how it shakes out.
Yeah, to be clear, I'm with you. I think Skyview wins the league, but Eagle, Owyhee are going to push them for sure. Timberline lost a lot to graduation. I'll be curious to see how they bounce back, but it's going to be a lot of fun. 5A SIC for volleyball then adds Middleton and Nampa. They drop down from 6A. They lose Skyview, to the delight of everybody.
Right. Yes.
Skyview moves up. And so you've got what looks like a 5A SIC we're used to seeing, a nice 6-team conference. Bishop Kelly, Caldwell, Columbia, Middleton, Nampa, and Valley View. I think Middleton could drop down and compete right away in this conference.
That's how I was going to say, Brandon. I think it's Middleton and Columbia that we're going to see here. Ridgeview was actually the 3rd place team last year, went 12-6, but they're up. So you lose 2 of your top 3 teams is what happens in this 5A SIC. Middleton had a plus 500 record up playing. And so I think Middleton volleyball is poised to make it back to state this year at the 5A level.
And let's not forget, Logan, you've got the league standings up, right, from last year? Where did Valley View finish?
Next to last.
Yeah, they were the 6th seed out of 6. The 7th place team didn't get to go to districts. So Valley View came in as the last seed at districts. They went on an ultimate all-time Cinderella run, and they got to state last year, Logan.
Right.
Valley View did, and they were kind of the darling of the 4A, now 5A classification a year ago. So, can Valley View continue that momentum as well? We'll just have to stay tuned and see. This year, the 5A SIC gets 2 bids to state. So that lines up with what it's been in the past. Okay, let's go to the 4A SIC. And we should note the 5A SIC did lose Emmett. They dropped down in volleyball. Emmett got the green light to move down in every sport except football. And I know their football coaches weren't very happy about that because Emmett is so small numbers wise. But hey, they're so darn good. So Emmett moves down to the 4A level. They join holdovers Fruitland, Homedale, McCall Donnelly, Payette, and Weiser. Parma moved down due to enrollment numbers, and Cole Valley Christian moved up due to enrollment numbers. So you've got Fruitland is the reigning state champion in 4A volleyball.
Right.
They're going to be excellent again this year. You lose Parma, which was a pretty good program, but you trade it with Cole Valley Christian, which was a pretty good 3A squad. So to me, it's kind of Fruitland, Cole Valley, and I think McCall Donnelly. Yeah, they did lose the player of the year in Gabby Green, but McCall Donnelly also still brings back some really nice pieces.
Yeah, and let's not forget about Weiser.
That's true.
They didn't make it to state, but last year during the season, they finished tied for first with Fruitland and McCall Donnelly at 8-2 in the conference, right? So they were right there, and we saw Fruitland actually. It's weird, Brandon. Some of the way that the computer tells people the way they're rated. McCall Donnelly was 13-4. Fruitland was 17-3. McCall Donnelly was the 1 seed at the state tournament, and Fruitland was the 4. Fruitland then rolls on and wins the state championship. It doesn't make sense sometimes, but Weiser was right there, right? Weiser was right in the mix, and so. You never know. Like those 3 teams finished with the identical records in conference in volleyball last year. And then, like you mentioned, you throw in a Cole Valley Christian who can also get things done. It's going to be a really wide open league this year, right? I mean, you've got the defending state champs. You have the number 1 seed in the state tournament from a year ago as well. A team that finished tied with them in the conference, and then a team that's very good moving up. So, it's going to be a brutal schedule for all these teams in the 3A or the 4A SRV.
The good news: 2.5 bids available to state from,
which is great.
Yeah, the 3rd place finisher at districts will play the 2nd place team from District 4. That's definitely a winnable match there for the Treasure Valley. Okay, let's go to the 3A ranks. This used to be 2A, so we're going to see like Melba is kind of the team we'll start with. Who stayed put? Almost everybody. Ambrose, Compass Charter, Marsing, Melba, Nampa Christian, New Plymouth. The new additions are Parma moving down a level from Class 4A and Vision Charter moving up a level from Class 2A. So the bigger addition to me is Parma. I mean, we know what kind of female athletes they've had over the years, and they have a strong tradition.
Yeah.
To me, it's still Melba. Ambrose was sneaky good last year, and Nampa Christian is always pretty solid also.
Definitely. And Brandon, I need to go back and say one thing about the 4A.
Okay.
They have 2 number 1 seeds from a year ago, because
Cole
Valley was the number 1 seed. I forgot to add that in there. So think about that. They have 2 number 1 seeds and the state champ from a year ago in the league. Like that's that's like impossible to even like set up, right? Because it's only possible with classification moves, right? That's the only way that works out. So that's going to be brutal. But like you said, a lot of really good teams in the 3A as well. And I think Melba, like you said, I think it's probably Melba's to lose right now. 7-0 last year, 15-3 overall, and obviously they won the state championship. They were able to get it done over Malad, I believe, was who they beat in the championship. And you know what? Right now they just turn out really good female athletes at Melba, right? The basketball team is always there. Track and field is always there on the girls' side, and soccer, and then volleyball, right? So we talk about their state champs there, and look for them to be right back on top this year.
Yep, it'll be a fun league for sure. Let's go to the 2A level, 2A Western Idaho Conference. This used to be 1A D1. This is always a tough league to peg. It is just it's one of the larger ones outside of the 6A ranks. You've got Centennial Baptist, Gem State, Idaho City, Liberty Charter, North Star Charter is moving down a level from 3A to 2A. Notice, Rimrock, Riverstone, Victory Charter, Wilder. The big stories here are they add North Star Charter, which moved down, and they lost Greenleaf Friends, which was kind of the premier program the last couple of years. Greenleaf Friends, because of low enrollment, Logan, they're now a 1A school. So it has kind of left this opening, and which one of these teams is going to seize it?
Right. Yeah, Victory Charter, Liberty Charter were right there, right behind Greenleaf last year. Liberty Charter went to state and went 2-0. Greenleaf knocked them out of the tournament. They were the 6-7 team, and Greenleaf knocked them out. But this probably opens a door for somebody else that, like a Victory Charter or maybe even a Rimrock. Right, Rimrock was right there knocking on the door as well. So I mean, look out for the Raiders this year. I think Rimrock might be able to sneak that, and maybe one of those teams that moves up like a North Star Charter.
2.5 bids available from this league to state. That's what it was last year. Victory Charter lost the play-in match as they tried to become the third team from District 3 to make it. But yeah, I kind of lean Liberty Charter and Rimrock, certainly. I think Notice could be sneaky too. Coach Julie Jordan has done a good job with that program in a short amount of time. Let's wrap up with 1A, the Long Pin Conference here, Logan. We have added Greenleaf Friends, as we alluded to. They have dropped down and they join Cascade, Council, Garden Valley, Horseshoe Bend, Salmon River, and Tri-Valley. Greenleaf, I think, will compete, but this league, until somebody stops them, is Horseshoe Bend's, right? Horseshoe Bend is just good.
Horseshoe Bend lost 3 sets last year. They lost 1 to Council and lost 2 to Coal Valley Christian, who we just mentioned was the number 1 seed and will be up, right? Is moving up to the 4A level. That they didn't lose to them. They just it went 5 sets. So, man, Brandon, that I don't know if somebody's got to beat them first before I'm going to go anywhere else. That's my stance on that. But I think Greenleaf moving in. So now you've got a team, Greenleaf, that went undefeated in conference play last year. Now you throw them into the mix. I think they're going to be pushing for the upper echelon of the league, but until somebody can do it, and I like Council as well in that spot. Council was the team to win a set against Horseshoe Bend and has been there before, right? In volleyball, has been able to have some success recently. The league has just been very good. Tri-Valley was good a couple years ago. Council as well. The whole league is great, but right now it's Horseshoe Bend's until somebody can even scratch them. I'm going to go with the Mustangs.
I mean, we've talked about this. 2 bids available to state the last 3 or 4 years. Horseshoe Bend, Council, and Tri-Valley have all been. I mean, Tri-Valley won the last time a team that wasn't Horseshoe Bend won the state title. It was Tri-Valley. And so they've got that history. Yeah. Council is always right there. Paula Tucker, the AD at Council, runs a very good girls athletics program overall. And I don't know.
They made it to the state championship last year. It came down to Horseshoe Bend and Council. Council made it, right? They only lost their games in the state tournament to Horseshoe Bend, and they were great in the tournament, just ran into Horseshoe Bend.
I worry about Greenleaf finding a seat at the table, but I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see.
It's so stacked up there at the top.
Yeah, it's tough. They went to a tougher league, if we're being honest. Moving down a level, Greenleaf went to a tougher league.
Yes, I agree with that. I mean, Horseshoe Bend was playing teams from way above them and beating them. I mean, a couple years ago, we talked about them beating Boise, right? They could move. They would be successful in just about any league that they played in Idaho.
Yep. Speaking of that, Horseshoe Bend did beat Boise a couple of years ago, Logan. That happened at the Kuna Cavemen Classic, which is this weekend. It is kind of the season opening tournament for teams in the Treasure Valley. Obviously, Kuna is going to be there, but Mountain View's coming. You're going to have some 5A, 4A programs from the Treasure Valley competing. The big storyline is Coeur d'Alene is coming down to play in this thing from the north. Which, they basically get one trip south every year, maybe two. And so the fact that Coeur d'Alene, who is kind of favored to win the Inland Empire League 6A, the fact that they came down to play in the Kuna Cavemen Classic, I mean, if I'm that Kuna volleyball program, I see this as a sign of respect.
Yes, definitely. Having a team come down, it's hard to do that, right? It's hard to find the time to do that early in the season. School's just starting to make a trip like that. I think you say, man, they respect this enough to make the trip. Got to be happy with that.
Yeah. So we'll have some highlights from the Kuna Cavemen Classic next week's edition of the Treasure Valley Prepcast. We'll leave with one question here, Logan. This is from our East Idaho Prepcast host, Joel Richardson. Skyview versus Madison. Who you got in volleyball? Madison is the reigning 6A champs.
Yeah.
Skyview back up. I mean, I know who I got Skyview.
Yeah, I got Skyview. That will be an epic game. And hopefully they are one, hopefully the brackets, the bracket gods align them to be 1 and 2 if that's the way it shakes down, right? Based on last year's results, like, again, something could change this year and teams lose 5 games and whatever. But if they both go undefeated in conference, if they're both looking really good, you hope it's a 1 and a 2 situation, and they're not meeting in the semifinals or something like that.
Yep. It's going to be a lot of fun. We are hitting the ground running with soccer and volleyball action opening up this weekend, as well as football, of course. We are going to have our Treasure Valley game night. It's going to be a Saturday night showdown, 7:00.
Yeah.
Kimberly at Fruitland. These were 2 playoff teams a year ago and 2 teams that have their sights set on getting back to the postseason. It'll be a fun week 1 contest here on IdahoSports.com.
Yeah, that should be great. I mean, Fruitland has been down the last couple of years, but they're a historically great football program. Did great over the last 15 years. Has always been there. Kimberly is a lot of people are high on Kimberly this year, so you'll want to check that one out on Saturday night.
Yep. Your guy, Jordan Gross, coaches Fruitland High School, former Carolina Panthers right tackle, I believe.
He's got to turn that ship around, because when you play for the best team in the NFL, you're gonna get it right. You've had the foundation of just constant success with the Panthers. So that was dripping with sarcasm, but.
Yeah.
I am a Panthers fan, so I have to do it.
I like Coach Gross. We sent an email out to every football coach for our season previews, which, by the way, we're just about finished with at IdahoSports.com. The last teams are going to be put in here today and tomorrow, and maybe a couple 8-man teams that aren't playing until next week will spill over, but we're pretty much 90% of the way there. So we sent an email out to every coach with the preseason questionnaire, and then they send it back. When Coach Gross sent his back, in the reply, he just put adios, Coach Gross. It rhymed. I liked it.
It's catchy. I like it.
Yeah. Adios, Coach Gross. Coach Gross. Okay. We are going to say adios as well. Thanks for tuning into the Treasure Valley Prepcast, everybody. If you want to see the full schedule of games, we are broadcasting across the football landscape. You can click on the Game Streams tab on the homepage at IdahoSports.com. And be sure to check out Gem State Game Day. If you're a football diehard, this is going to be the premier place for you every week to get caught up on what are the big matchups, what are the big storylines, and you can check that out on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, or X account. All right.
Yeah, just think college game day, but Idaho version for high schools. And so I think the idea is if we release it early, then you've got time to talk about it and say, hey, don't forget, go back and watch it, instead of doing it, Saturday morning or Friday at 5:00 before you guys head out to your games when you're already at your tailgate. So hopefully you'll have some time over the next 2 days to listen to that before we kick things off.
Yep, we will drop it in every Thursday at 8 a.m. Mountain Time. So it is already there, ready for you to consume. So go on and do that. For Logan Green, I'm Brandon Baney. Thanks for tuning into the Treasure Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.